Yeah, I said it. I'm a hater. Somebody literally got engaged and I was like, I'm about to mute you, sis. I don't want to see another pic of you being like, okay, we get it. You got a man.
I mean, dang. Well, that's what I call transparent.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl KB of Heart Combos, and today you are joining me and my guest in the Heart Seat, where we have conversations that are honest, elephant-sized, authentic, real, and transparent. Today, my guests are Dorian and Morgan of The Rooted Life. They have a podcast that just finished season 4, and it's all about relationships, so you definitely want to check that out on all streaming platforms. And they also have the Rooted Life collection coming soon, where you can find all of the cool shirts and swag and all kinds of stuff from their platform. So without further ado, let's just jump into this episode. Morgan, Dorian, welcome to the show.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, we're excited. This is an honor. This is really an honor. We love your content, so this is like a dream come true.
Yeah. So excited to be here. Can't wait to drop a little something on the people. We're excited.
Listen, I'm excited to have y'all. Y'all are two of the dopest women that I have met in 2020. No lie. For real. And so I'm serious. Y'all love Jesus. Y'all are fly. What are we talking about here?
You're not wrong, but still, like, it's nice to hear it, you know?
We love to hear it. Thank you. We appreciate it.
No, this episode is going to be great, and you guys already know what it is. We're going to be talking about the things that are honest, elephant-sized, authentic, real, and transparent. We are having heart combos today. I have 5 questions for you, so we're not going to waste any more time. We're going to jump right into question number 1. So,
do it.
What are your honest thoughts about your singleness right now?
Honest? It depends on the time of the month. Currently, I'm like, nah, God, this ain't for me. But maybe if you catch me next week, I might be like, this season is so meaningful. I thank you, God, for using me in such a profound way. But if I see somebody getting engaged, I'm like, now hold up. So it just kind of depends on the time of the month. Sometimes in the month, my hormones are raging and I'm upset. But more times than not, I'm feeling pretty content. So just catch me on the right day. That's my answer.
Okay, Doe, where are you at?
So I say like 3/4 of the time I'm good. But that other 1/4 is usually when I'm like consuming some type of content that is having me fall one way or the other. So when I'm seeing, the dating reality TV shows, or I see all this lovey-dovey stuff, it's fall, it's getting cold. Everybody talking about cuffing season. And the Lord said, you ain't cuffing nothing. You just keep on staying at the house serving me. And I'm like, but God, I want to do a little cuffing.
I want to cuff let somebody cuff me.
I want to get into the season this year.
Get cuffed?
So on those days, that's the 1/4. But I think, the other 3/4 is when I remember that like this time is purposeful. It's significant right here, right now. And I'm just grateful that God has placed a lot of things in my hands right now to focus on and really pour into. So yeah, it's tough out here though. Not gonna lie. Yeah.
Listen, y'all better keep it all the way honest, okay? Like, y'all held nothing back. But that's good. I love it because I don't think that people always give themselves, particularly Christians, give themselves permission to be in a place when it comes to their singleness. They find themselves in that space and then they're just trying to rush up out of it. Oh, I know I'm not supposed to be here, so I'm just going to try to act like it ain't an issue. But it is an issue. If we're honest, you having an issue right now, So I appreciate your honesty. So it leads me to question number 2, right? The elephant in the room. Now, when we talk about elephants in the room or elephant-sized conversations, we're talking about the thing that everybody sees and nobody wants to talk about, or we're talking about an issue that is larger than life. So when it comes to the dating scene, what is the elephant in the room? I mean, when it comes to online dating or even traditional dating in 2020, what's the elephant?
No.
I mean, when I think about like the larger than life part, I like the second definition that you gave. I feel like a lot of people are out here looking for the perfect person that does not exist. Like, I think we're looking for somebody they're going to be the yin to my yang, and like, they're never going to upset me and everything's going to be perfect and rainbows and butterflies. And I think, that prevents us, that romanticizing prevents us from being realistic and recognizing that at the end of the day, people are people, which means that if they are flawed, every relationship we enter is then going to have flaws.
You better drop gems on the people. Y'all see
If we're going to be realistic about that, then we have to recognize that, like, okay, yes, me choosing somebody to love, that person has the ability to hurt me and will hurt me, but I'm trusting them enough to know that they're not going to use those things against me, the vulnerable things that I share with them, that relationship is going to be beautiful, but it's also going to be ugly sometimes. I think that's the elephant in the room. And I'm speaking to myself most of the time because I'm out here thinking it's going to be perfect. And that's just not the case. Like, we got to be real with ourselves.
Morgan?
I was waiting to be called on like a student. I was trying to be a good student. Like, is it my turn? I think a lot of us just operate in a scarcity mindset. Like, we move through life in such a desperate way because we think that there's a limit to how much God's goodness we can experience. Like, there's only so much of God's blessings, and we all have to hurry up and grab what we can. We don't think that he's infinite enough to have enough blessing and goodness for all of us. And so we move in a desperate kind of sense where we're kind of just rushing, kind of like we're a bull through a china shop, just rushing through trying to grab whatever we can, not recognizing that we end up hurting ourselves and hurting other people when we pursue relationships out of a place of desperation. Nothing good comes out of a place of desperation other than worship and devotion to God. But in relationships, desperation is not a good place to seek relationships from. And I think in my own life, I sought relationships because I was desperate to not feel lonely. I was desperate for someone to validate me. I wanted someone to make me feel lovable, you know, and all those relationships, I was the bull in the china shop, just wrecking people's life and wrecking my own. And my mom always says, girl, what's for you is for you.
Come on.
So I think a lot of us are operating from a scarcity mindset because we don't think there's enough good men or good women out there. And so we think that we have to move from a place of desperation, but I don't think we have to. There's enough God's goodness for all of us.
Come on now.
That's it.
That right there, that's the elephant in the room. That's the one that we all know. Everybody out here desperate. And acting out of that desperation. Yeah, that.
So here's the thing. Y'all are out here dropping bombs and we're only on question number 2. So we're just going to throw this to the Rooted Life podcast so y'all could just lead this whole situation. I'm just here, okay? Because they're over here. This is truth. If you're single right now, like, y'all need to be following them, listening to them, because these ladies, they're about that life. And I think that just in the way that y'all have answered the first 2 questions, like, no holds barred, like, we just go like truth, you know what I'm saying, but also keep it all the way real and authentic. And I think that is absolutely necessary, especially in a conversation around dating when it comes to like being a Christian. And so listen, I'm the last 3 questions, I just don't even know where we're gonna go from here because y'all have already set the bar this high. But that's fine. Let's just go ahead and move on to question number 3. All right. A stands for authentic. All right. So we're having authentic conversations. How do you show up as your most authentic self when it comes to meeting someone new? How do you resist the temptation to become something that you are not, right? And be secure in that. So how do you show up as your most authentic self when meeting new people?
Wow. Okay. I think I first needed to admit that that's something that I have struggled with throughout my whole life, of changing myself, even if it's a friendship, like, or changing the way I talk or changing the way I dress. Like, I can go back through my history and see how I dressed was directly related to the person I was hanging out with. That was their style. I've looked back at pictures. I'm like, that ain't even your style, girl. There are so many things. I have struggled with this. So I first want to say that to help people realize, like, people struggle with this. But I think what I'm learning is that before I can show up authentically with anybody else, I got to be authentic with me. And I think that means, like, that's a daily process of me being like, all right, Morgan, I'm committed to the daily practice of loving who I am. Like, I can look at my bad qualities and be like, oh, child, we need God to fix that. But I'm not like self-deprecating. You know what I mean? Like, I'm able to hold the fact that I'm a really great person and God loves me, and there's areas I need to work at and I need to be intentional about developing in. And so I think I'm able to do that more. I'm able to show up authentically with people because I practice that with myself every single day, of loving me, liking me, calling myself out. And so I think it's just a practice of doing that with yourself first. I think, honestly, I've been single for 2.5 years. Father, I hope you heard that up there. So I haven't exactly been able to test that out with, with a potential boo. But I think, again, practicing that with ourselves and having somebody you can debrief with. And also, I think hanging out with groups of people like your friends and their friends, is a good way for them to be like, for you to debrief and be like, all right, girl, was I myself? Like, what was your vibe about how things were showing up? So that's the advice I would give. Stay tuned for when God sends me somebody. We can come back and I can tell you if it worked.
Absolutely. When you get booed up, right, and if it leads to marriage, I want both of y'all back on the heart seat because we need to make sure we went through all these. Listen, I'm fine with that. You just let me know. I'm sorry. Go ahead, though.
No, yeah. The thing that I would add to it, I think once you build that relationship of transparency and intimacy with yourself, then transfer that into your current relationships. I don't think that you need to wait until you're about to date somebody or until you start getting booed up and then all of a sudden think you're gonna feel comfortable being vulnerable and talking about what you're not comfortable with or sharing your preferences, your triggers. You have to do that in the relationships that you have right now. So whether that's with your parents, with your siblings, at work, sometimes people don't want to push on those boundaries at work, but that's who you with 85% of the time. So I think like that part 2 is to just then practice it. You get it with yourself and then practice it with the relationships that you have in your hand. And so now I've gotten to the point where I can feel myself when I'm like trying to do this thing of like trying to impress somebody or I'm interacting with a guy and I'm like, I feel weird. Like I'm sweating and I'm awkward and like, what's going on? And I just remember that like, I want that person to like Dorian because like I have to remind myself that the way God designed me is already dope. So like, why am I trying to shift to be something else? If they not rocking with Dorian as she was designed, they not the one anyway. So then I can just keep it moving.
Period, Pooh.
That's all I got to add.
For real. Listen, I'm telling y'all again, women after my heart. I'm telling you, we share this. We share the same mindset about a lot of things. Really, especially that little soapbox that I refuse to get on about how if you're not a good friend, you're not going to be a good boyfriend, girlfriend, spouse, coworker, like anybody. Like for real, you can't be a good leader. Like you cannot be a great influencer. It all starts with your ability to navigate friendship well. You get what I mean? Like you can't separate who you are at work with who you are probably in your relationships. You can't separate who you are in a leadership position with who you are behind closed doors or a person who has a platform. And so that point that you make about it has to just be a part of who you are anyway. What both of you guys said in different ways, practicing it daily in your own life, right, will allow it to manifest in your relationships with other people. It's not something you just conjure up when you get married. Like, oh, I ain't been vulnerable this whole time, but then now that I'm married, I got all the willpower in the world to be vulnerable. And I'm like, let me tell you, if you're not practicing vulnerability, honesty, elephant in the room, any of these types of conversations now, it will be harder when you get married because the stakes are higher in marriage. You get what I'm saying? Like right now, what will it cost you to be honest with your friend about the fact that you don't like the outfit she asked you if she liked? Like, you know what I mean? Like that. But when you're married and your spouse is asking you to be honest about things that are reserved for marriage, you get what I'm saying? Like about whether that be finances, being fully disclosed, you know what I'm saying, and fully exposed, you know what I'm saying, in the context of marriage. Man, y'all ain't having them conversations if you can't even tell your friend that she got something in her teeth, you know what I'm saying? like you can't say something uncomfortable, you know, because you afraid of I'm like, listen, it only gets harder in the closer you get or in the relationships that require far more intimacy. So y'all are on it. Y'all are on your way. I don't know what they tripping as far as I'm concerned.
The bow on that one. That was good. That you're not going to be a good anything if you're not able to do it just as a friend. I love that.
And also like, how can you expect somebody to accept who you are if you don't accept who you are? Like, how can I expect you to love who I am authentically if I haven't learned that from myself? Because then that means that I'm trying to make you love somebody who I'm not. So now I'm doing you a disservice and I do myself a disservice because you're falling in love or starting a friendship or relationship or work relationship with somebody that I'm not. So imagine how disappointed they're going to be when they find out that's not even you. And imagine how disappointed you're going to be that you sold yourself short, but not just showing up with who you are. I've done it, man. It's a waste of time and energy.
Listen,
Don't do it.
Oh my God. And see, this is Listen, oh my God. And see, y'all messing up the flow because this is not even what the heart seat is. We ain't supposed to be doing all this back and forth, okay? But listen, you made such a great point because it can happen that way, or it can happen that I didn't show you my most authentic self at the beginning, so you fell for who I showed you. But now I'm feeling the freedom to be my most authentic self because I'm experiencing love and acceptance from you. So then the real me shows up. You don't like the real me. That's your prerogative, right? You know what I'm saying? And so now I feel rejected. I feel like you're rejecting me and the person isn't. So to your point, that you've not given the other person the opportunity to love and accept the real you on the front end when there hasn't been intention and commitment. Listen, I just did a whole course on dating combos, and the turning, and this is actually great because it'll transition us into the R so that we can keep going. But the question for the real question that I want to ask you is, what's the real issue in real time when it comes to turning the corner to commitment in a relationship? And people, if they don't show their most authentic self to an individual up front, then commitment is made to the person you were pretending to be. But rejection and breakup is made with the real you. You understand what I'm saying? And so it's like I committed to a person who does not exist, but I broke up with the real you. Like, you get what I mean? Because that does that make, we're not getting into it.
Yes, it makes sense. You see our reaction?
Y'all need to go tap into dating combos.
Where's my church fan? Lord, I done got hot.
Anyway, that ain't even what we talking about. That ain't what we talking about. Look at y'all. Okay, sorry. So your question, the R.
Yeah.
How do you address the real issue in real time when it comes to turning the corner of commitment in a relationship? Like, what is the real issue? Why won't people turn that corner?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it, something that I think about just as a single person, the issue is like, people don't want to be held accountable. Ooh. And that is in a lot of different types of relationships. But when you're talking about turning the corner towards commitment is signing my name on the dotted line, maybe not all the way to like the covenant of marriage, but even just being in an exclusive relationship, I'm saying I'm signing the line to say, you can now hold me accountable for things. When I say I was going to do something and I didn't, now you can say, hey, you said you were going to do this thing and you're not really showing up. When I say I was going to show up for you in a specific way and I don't, or if I have shared something with you, hey, I don't really like that. And you're now challenging that. Like, people don't want to be held accountable because they like that sense of freedom. There's this sense of freedom that comes, I believe, with singleness. I can just go and do and free flow and then can't nobody tell me nothing. And so when it's time to really lock it in and say, okay, like, let's do this thing, I think that we just have like a warped sense of self. And so someone challenging that sense of self, especially in an intimate relationship, like, everybody's not ready to sign up for that.
Wow. That's not the direction I thought you were going to go in, but I'm glad you went all the way there.
Yeah.
And around the corner, you parked in the cul-de-sac, you got comfortable.
Quick parallel.
Jeez. Okay. I think for me, I think it's FOMO. I think that we are socialized to believe that every best thing is right around the corner. If you look at any advertisement, it's like, your next best self. And you're like, oh, what's this about? And it's like, buy McDonald's. You're like, I don't even see the correlation between what you're trying to sell me and what you just said, but they make it seem like your best life is just beyond this next job, or go on this trip, or buy this razor, or like come eat this fast food. And it's like, and then I think we start to have that mindset that, oh, the best thing in life is just beyond my reach. It's just beyond the corner. And so I think that we're afraid to make a commitment because we're worried that, oh, what if I'm actually missing out? What if this is not the best that life has to offer? What if the best next thing is right around the corner? And so I think that we're afraid of missing out. And so we don't want to commit. And I think that we miss out on the now. We miss out on the present, because I've been guilty of thinking my next best life was with the promotion or a new city or a new boo. And it's like, then I missed out on the present. And I think your best is not in your future. Your best is right now. This is what you have right now. That's the best that God has given you. Work it now.
Yeah. That is right here. It's right here. People be running away from it. And I mean, I'm generalizing here, but I feel like we see that with men more of the like, I don't know if this is it. Maybe I can get something a little bit better than this. And because I feel like generally women are like, I'm ready to be in a relationship.
I'll take anybody. Desperate.
I mean, not that that's always, the best thing.
No, she won't. No, she won't. She won't take anybody. Okay. There are some qualifications.
But yeah, I think that I love the point that Mo just made. Just like, we think that there is something more beyond where we are right now. And it causes which, you know, thinking about just like the judgmental perspective that we have towards people instead of accepting them, how we talked about that authenticity piece. Sometimes we're not willing to accept people as they are, and we don't want to commit because we want you to be the version of you that we think is best. So we're waiting on you to get to a certain, like, I'm not trying to commit until you get this and you become that. But it's like sometimes people are at their best self, but we don't see it because we have such a specific lens on. And I think I've definitely done that, even just sometimes in family relationships, not seeing people as they are and accepting them for what they are and trying to make them in who I want them to be.
Listen, this is it's too much power in one room. That's what this is. Like, for real. Like, I'm like, these jokers are gonna have to stop. Watch this episode in increments, because literally, it's like, well, we could just stop after this letter and just debrief this for the next week. Like, for real. Like, some life lessons here today. I appreciate you guys just really leaning into the conversation and really being vulnerable in your answers. So it brings me to the very last question. As you've been sitting in the heart seat so well, I might add. Transparent. Okay, listen. Transparent conversations. These are my favorite, because a transparent conversation is when you share something that a person otherwise wouldn't know unless you expose it, right? So conversations about your expectations. People don't know your expectations until you tell them. Your boundaries, they don't know your boundaries until you tell them. So your fears, your dreams, your hopes, right? So for you ladies, very last question in the heart seat. Transparently speaking, what do you want? What are your desires personally and relationally moving forward?
I'll start. I think personally, I would like to not be such a hater. Yeah, I said it. I'm a hater. When somebody literally got engaged, and I was like, I'm about to mute you, sis. I don't want to see another pic of you being like, like, okay, we get it. You got a man. That's great. And so I'm a hater. Like, I hate on people who have what I want, and I hate on them because I get caught up in the lie that God is withholding from me and that he somehow blessed people with something that he's withholding. But my Bible said he withholds no good thing from his babies. And so I think for me, I can be a hater because I think like, well, why they get that? I'm over here. I got a podcast. I'm serving. And I go through a whole litany of lists, and God's like, bro, it's not even about that. It's about that heart. So for me, I want to not be such a hater. AKA, I want to rejoice with those who rejoice, and remember that God doesn't withhold any good thing from me, that everything that I need in this season, he's equipped me and given me. And I just want to keep learning to be thankful and comfortable in that season and be happy for people when God blesses them with things that I want. That's mine. That's hard to say out loud. Like that. That's
what I call transparent.
That is transparent, baby. That's vulnerable. Matter of fact, what you just said, that, because I mean, transparency is like the layer right above vulnerability, because you can be transparent and let people see into things, but you don't have to expose so much that they can use what you said against you. You just gave people the ability to wound you, which is the root word of vulnerability, which is vulner, which means to wound. So you're not really being vulnerable unless you are exposing yourself to the point where you can be wounded. And if you could have just been like, man, I just really want to learn to be content in my singleness because I find myself wrestling with discontent. That would have been transparent and honest, right? But when you said, I want to stop being a hater because I literally cannot rejoice with a person who has something that I don't want, like, that's vulnerability, baby. You killing it out here, Morgan. Listen, I love y'all. This is awesome. Doe, what you got to say?
Whew, you good? I mean, dang. Yeah, that's good. I was sitting over, I had thought about something, but then you know how the Lord be like, nah, go ahead and say what it really is. So in the spirit of vulnerability, okay, so basically it's like, I think I'm perfect. And where I want to grow is recognizing that I'm not, is that I am flawed just as the next person. Yeah. And I think that that desire to continue to uphold this perfect image in everything that I do, it is literally like stifling. It suffocates me because then I'm always wanting Dorian to be at the forefront. And if I'm at the forefront, then how does Jesus get the opportunity to shine at all? Whoop. Like, and our pastor had this one analogy. It was like a spotlight. Jesus is always supposed to be in the spotlight, but it's like we come in and we're like, hey, put it on me. I'll get a little bit of that. And I'm like, that's me. I love to be in the spotlight. And so where I want to grow, like my prayer is just like, God, just continue to make my heart humble and like break down this ugly thing called pride that I am literally trying to operate in every single day. So yeah, that's where I'm headed. And it's hard. Like every day I gotta like give that one to him. Cause every day I'm just like, I feel like I'm not enough. And so then I'm like trying to make up for things instead of recognizing that like, it's the strength in him. Like I got to give him the ability to be the strength or I'm always going to be short at the end of the day. So yeah.
That's my best friend.
That's it right
That's
there.
real.
Ooh, I'm going to take a sip.
I feel like I got
that.
red today. I didn't plan for that. Was this for us or for them?
Clearly for us. I mean, when I
didn't know I needed this.
Ladies. This might be one of the best heart seat episodes we've had thus far. I mean, because really, even when we think about, so when we came with the name of the heart seat, you know, one of my friends was telling me, she was like, hey, it's a play on words. You know how people get put in the hot seat, so you kind of grill them and you're asking them a ton of questions. It's like, so you make people sit in the heart seat, but the questions that they're having to ask or answer are these questions. And you ladies have leaned in to all 5 questions just so gracefully and vulnerably. And I think that my prayer is that people will watch this episode and they will be honest with themselves, you know? That they will really tap into the root of the thing, you know what I'm saying? And maybe because y'all are the rooted life, y'all just used to going all the way underneath, you know what I'm saying? Like, so maybe y'all, again, I said this multiple episodes, y'all are not new to this, y'all are true to this. This is just how you live, right? And when you live this way, like we were saying before, it just kind of leaks out into every space. So thank you for bringing your most authentic selves to the heart seat. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for exposing yourselves in the way that you did so that 1, God could be glorified, and 2, other people could see the goodness of God at work in your life. And so thank you again for leaning in. I appreciate you being my guest. If you enjoyed what you saw here today, you can always, 1, you can follow them at The Rooted Life, right, on social media. But you can also become a Heart Convos member at heartconvos.com and get more content like this. You can get access to all of season 1. And yeah, just, man, I'm literally like taken aback by how amazing this conversation was that I can't even do my outro, but it's fine. I want you to remember that it's not a hard conversation. It's a hard conversation, y'all. Until next time, peace.